What's good, Black Star Podcast? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Jared. Y'all, today we're going to be looking at a video from Anton Daniels. Now, keep in mind, this video that we're going to be looking at is it's a panel discussion. And black women, let's have a conversation. Because this conversation actually really needs to be talked about. But look at this.
Ideally, do I want a baby to be deceased off of the irresponsible? And I'm not saying that every abortion is due to people being irresponsible, right? There could be medical reasons, a whole bunch of different reasons, incest, great. There could be a lot of different reasons why it could become necessary. However, what I'm saying is that if we're going to use an example of like the Black community and repetitive cycles of poverty, the child not being brought into a stable household, I've seen children, and I got to phrase this the right way. I've seen children in situations that it is so saddening. The living conditions that they are in is so sad. Some of them have no food. Some of them are homeless. They're going from shelter to shelter. Their quality of life is trash. And I'm not saying because you become pregnant and you're not married, that's an automatic abortion. However, if you know that you on your last negative penny, if you know that you have no shelter for your child, if you know that this is, your third time being pregnant and you just don't got it to bring another child into this world and you already got two baby daddies, like, this is a situation where I think you need to have a tough conversation with yourself and say, is bringing a child into this situation going to be for the best? And unfortunately, I would say in certain situations, within a certain time frame, do what you need to do. Some people may agree with that, some people don't, but I'm gonna always be for somebody having a choice in a certain situation. And I hate seeing
choice after they made the bad decision.
Correct.
Can I ask a question, just as a pro-choice? Why the pro-choicers never advocate for adoption?
Because I've seen children, and I know people personally who have been in the system, and they do not get treated no better.
You got private adoptions. You got all type of ways to adopt.
I hear you, but that's not always the case for everyone. And I've seen, and I know people who have been in situations where they have been adopted.
You play God.
They've been in group homes. They've also not had any food. They've also been victims of SA. Like their living situation also has not been good.
And some of those children have grown up to be wonderful, amazing adults.
I'm not negating what
you cannot. That's no.
You're not. I'm not negating what you're saying. And their adoption is a choice. However, in certain situations, that still does not create an ideal or better situation than what the child was going to be in anyway.
Then death.
To be fair, though,
hear me out. Which is why I believe in preventative measures, so this doesn't even become a situation or option, right?
Well, just talk about that part. Let's not even talk about that part.
Those things also happen in biological families too, though. So some of those arguments are kind of, it's kind of hard to make that argument, in my opinion, just because it's like you can't take out struggle, poverty, sexual assault, and crimes and things like that inside of biological families. And a lot of the times you don't even know about those things happening. So I wouldn't say like if that was like an argument as to why someone would, be like, this is why I'm pro-choice, in my opinion, I'd be like, well, that can happen no matter if they're adopted, they're with their biological parent, that's not really
there's reasons though too that I talked about. There could be medical reasons. There could be something wrong with the child. There could be
the majority of the time it's elective though.
It's literally less than 1% of what you're talking about.
Hold on. Let's back up for a minute because I'm trying to understand. So the core of the conversation was based off of K. Michelle saying that guys, and she was using Cam Newton as an example, need to step up and create better families. And then she cited other cultures and other music and whatever like that as an example as to why that should be, right? And I'm assuming that the majority of y'all actually probably agree with her, right? I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you agree with her, Devin?
Because at the end of the day, I think what the real issue is not because of the culture. Because at the end of the day, I think we have degenerate behavior in all sides of the culture, white people, black people, et cetera, et cetera. I think.
Okay, so I'll let that go on for a little while. Now let's talk about this topic. When it comes to black culture, there's a lot of issues. Okay, and when it comes to like the way a lot of women have kids, majority of the time, if not 98, 99% of the time, is voluntary. Now the other 5 to 1% of that is extreme cases, but for the majority, it's voluntary. Now, I got to do a video on what K. Michelle had actually said, but so I'm not even gonna get on that topic. But the way that this is this. Keep your legs closed.
It's the fact that tell me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I'm just throwing it out here. I feel like certain people, sometimes black women, or just people in general, see black men a certain way, and if they don't fit that certain demographic of person, then it's like, okay, I just got to go white now, and I got to go that white, like be with that white person. When you could definitely find a black person that has those same morals, those same values in the black community, but you refuse.
You said black women will say.
But what they don't realize is a perpetual choice that they make. A lot of those women that choose those type of men, they make that choice because there's something about that man that they like and they're attracted to and that they attract. That's what they don't want to tell you. A lot of them attract that type of guy.
Hey, I gotta go be with the white man.
Well, that's ultimately what she was saying in her video. She's like, she was forced to pretty much go to the white side because she just she hated.
I'm not tripping off of that because black men go and date white women, and we don't trip off of that either. So that's not a problem for me.
No, that's not. I mean, no, but at the same time, it's like she's saying it's black men's fault, like, but not really saying that she's talking to the wrong black men. I think that's the part where she's missing, where she's refusing to talk to the black men that would fit her desired outcome.
Yeah, I know, but that's not the question that I was going to pose, right?
Can I say this? Can I say I feel like she's wrong in the fact that it's not the black man, because how can I feel like it's simple. How can a black man make a family to a woman that has multiple baby daddies? Most times you have a woman that has multiple baby daddies. So you want me, because I'm your last baby daddy, to be the good father and make us a family. It's kind of hard when you have other kids that are not biologically mine to then stabilize, a good family or whatever the case may be. So there's more women pregnant and having kids than there are men making kids.
So here's my question though, but not all of y'all pretty much agree with family, I'm assuming though, right? Is there anybody that disagrees with the concept, regardless of whose fault it is? Because we can go back to the fault part in a minute, but I'm just trying to understand something, because I want to understand where y'all at. Is there anybody disagrees with the idea that you should marry the person? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Disagree with the idea of getting married within themselves. Like all of y'all, I'm assuming that all of y'all desire to be married. Is there anybody that don't desire to be married? Let's do it that way. Okay, cool. So I'm assuming that now that we there. All right. Here's my question. Why do y'all want to get married?
I think
I've already been married.
Well, okay, so all right.
But I'm not now, so that's why I'm so passionate about this, because the whole this idea and the feminist thing and how we were raised as women, when I look back now and the more I learn, that ruined my marriage. That's the reason I'm not married.
Okay, all right. So why do y'all want to get married?
I can answer that. one, I want to have children, and I want to have children with my husband, not my baby daddy. And two, I want to do life with someone. I want to have someone that that we could just do life together. My business partner, my help me, the person that I can, be
You know,
soft
the woman is the helpmeet, right?
with, huh?
You know, the woman is the helpmeet, right?
That's what I'm saying. I want to be that to my husband.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Maybe I didn't phrase that right, but yes, I want to be soft. I want to be feminine. I want to be kept. I want to be protected. But I also want to provide these things as far as like being feminine and soft and creating a household for my husband, right? Like I said, the husband is the head, but I feel like the woman is the neck, and I feel like they move together. Do we have different roles? Yes. I don't necessarily think one is more important than the other, but I think it's like yin and yang and how we go together. But I just want to do life with my person, and I just want to be like that's me, and we're together and we have this family. Can I go into more depth and more detail? Of course, but
I'm just trying to understand in a general sense, what y'all think the right solution looks like. What do y'all actually think that looks like? And the reason that I say that is because, we often at times talk about what's wrong, and we all, a lot of times we address the issues, and I'm all for that too. But I'm not even sure if people really understand what the purpose of marriage is. I don't know.
I think that we lost the value of what we don't know. We didn't know. I didn't know what marriage was. I had never, until I understood that it's leadership, submission, like a yin and yang. But women have to understand, we get triggered by these words so much, like submission, authority, dominant. We get triggered by those words, but that's just what it is. It's a covering. And I've always believed a woman needed a covering. We gotta have a covering. So if we don't have a covering, marriage, it's the women. As far as I'm concerned, and I can only speak from a woman, from my experience and what I've heard around the data, anecdotal, and it's us. The way we raised, the things we're taught, little sayings like, you got to find a man that love you more than you love him, and all these little innuendos, or just make sure you're able to be taken care of, but at the same time, they're not teaching you how to actually be a wife and cook and clean and all these wonderful things.
You know what I'm saying? All of this shit comes from, all this bullshit comes from the older generation. That's what I'm saying. All of this comes from the older generation. And here's why I say that. Because the older generation did not teach women how to, especially black women, how to actually treat men. They didn't. And now we got a situation to where women want to be covered, but they don't want to do what they're supposed to do to attract the men. They want men to basically treat them like royalty while treating the men like peasants.
At its core, marriage is a business arrangement. And
This
is why I say you can grow into love. And last time I checked, there are a lot of arranged marriages that last longer than the ones who just so in love and head over heels. So, I mean, I feel like there's a business component to marriage as well. People may say, oh, it's a piece of paper, or oh, this or that. But like, there's a lot of different things that you have to balance that are business related, whether y'all have a family business, whether it's finances, whether it's a lot of different things. Your whole life gets tied to that person. So whatever you got going on, like now y'all both got that going on.
I think that mentality.
It's a covenant.
I think the whole business arrangement brought in the degenerate behavior within the whole aspect of marriage. Because in the day, it was at the church level. The biggest issue is when the church started becoming part of the government, and the government started, dictating the marriage laws and stuff like that. And then you had all different communities wanting to adopt marriage through the government's sense, and then it adulterated the whole purpose of it. I think
okay. So let me give you a little bit of an education. There's no way that the church could not, in some way, integrate itself with the government when the majority of the laws by which you abide by in this country was forged by the church. The whole idea of what you can and can't do, the foundation of it was based off of laws and the rules that was governed in the church.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
So how can't they, when you also have to factor in that some of the ways in which we evaluate if a person is able to get a pension, or if you can carry over somebody else if they pass away, or if you in a hospital and a person is able to pull a plug, or whether or not this person takes priority over this person, you had to have that structure, which is largely based off of marriage in the church.
I mean, but that being said, it's like you have that structure, but then also the issue is now that I 100% agree with what you're saying, but I think the issue comes in is when all the the stuff that isn't biblical starts getting implemented into it. I think they just like it. I think we lose the idea of companionship. I think we lose the idea of like procreation, like the whole family structure, and and I think ultimately, and then also the degeneracy part of it is just like
wait, you're jumping around. Like what other parts?
What do you mean? You
said there's other parts.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going into. Is like I was just naming a whole list of stuff, and especially like the sexual intimacy part.
Slow down. Take your time. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, just like the sexual part where it's like, just stop that part of it, where we have these rules and regulations of how, we go into sex, but that laid out how sex was supposed to be handled.
How was it supposed to be handled in the Bible?
I mean, when it comes to like adultery, and then just who
that don't have anything to do with sexuality. That has everything to do with structure, as far as you coveting another man's wife and stuff. Adultery. Do you know what adultery is?
I'm gonna say no.
So why would you say that if you don't know what it is then?
I mean,
Wait, brother, you don't know what adultery is? Cheating? Oh my Lord. You talking about the Bible, but adulterous woman is in the Bible. Oh my Lord. Yeah, Lord help us.
Like I know what it is. I mean, but I'm sure you're.
So what do you think it is?
Negro, please.
I'm not being trying to be contentious about it. I'm just like, if you got,
we're not arguing.
If somebody don't get this jigaboo off my screen.
I think
without looking it up.
What?
Without looking it up. What do you think?
Ultimately, I feel like adultery is just pretty much sleeping outside, having sex outside of the covenant of your marriage.
That's called cheating. That's adultery.
That's called fornication. Adultery is sleeping with another man's wife.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you disagree with about as far as adultery? And the church's role in making sure that doesn't happen in the greater society, especially when you're married.
Except there's preachers and pastors in the church that's doing that same thing. Sleeping with church members' wives. Like, are we really going to hold this conversation? Because that conversation needs to be really tackled at this point. You got pimps in the church sleeping with church members' wives.
Say that one more time.
What don't you agree with? You said that the church added other things which play a role in what happens in society. Why don't you agree with the church saying that you shouldn't be an adulterer and sleeping with another man's wife?
I mean, no, I agree with that. Should be a rule. Like, I agree with that.
You use that as an example, though.
No, I was listing things off for the purpose of marriage, just like to stop that from happening.
Correct. You don't want that to happen if a person gets married, right?
Correct.
So why would you mention that as one of the things that's an issue? That the church
I don't think it's an issue. I think that's what the purpose of marriage is. But I feel like my other point that I said before that was a lot of these other things that are degenerate, that's not, what the church says is being pushed in and okay under the marriage aspect of life.
Interesting. I don't think that most people, I don't think that most people want to be married. And if they do, I don't think that most people want to be married for the right reasons. I think that marriage today and popular culture, especially amongst women, is the equivalent of getting a big ring. It's a status symbol. I think that a lot of times they do it for validation. They do it for other women. I don't think that most people are in it for the right reasons, which is one of the reasons why it's so difficult for people to A, get married, to B, find the right person, and to C, stay married. I don't think it really matters. I think it's when you listen to K. Michelle, she's putting the onus on men, right? The problem with that is that it also takes two people to be successfully married, A. And then the second thing is that you gotta remove the incentives for women to breaking up their families. If you're not gonna look at it holistically and change family court laws, if you're not gonna look at it holistically and start to address women, single mother households, if you're and address them raising the men that they're saying that they need expectations from in order to get married. K. Michelle is not married. You know what I'm saying? She stated in that interview that she, knew men in her family and her father and all of this stuff. So why didn't it leap onto you? Why does she choose a career of visibility and singing and BBLs and all of this stuff instead of choosing a strong family household like she's saying that she's advocating for men to do? Because you can't choose the basketball player and you can't choose the football player and you can't choose the rapper and entertainer and you can't live the life and then cry on a podcast saying, oh man, men really need to step it up and pick it up. Pick up what?
You know what? Can't argue that. But the thing about it is this. With K. Michelle is a pass around. So let's be honest here. Can we really listen to somebody like K. Michelle and actually can we really listen to what K. Michelle is saying? Because from what I'm seeing, most of the women that's talking about what black men should do aren't even married to black men. Nor are they married. They the baby mamas in the pass arounds. So let's be honest here. Can we really have that conversation with each other? Anyways, I'm going to do the video about K. Michelle now because this really need to be talked about. Anyways, like, share, subscribe, channel, support the podcast at Spotify.com. I will see you guys later. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.